let us all do we can to build a better future.
You got a story for the people. What is going on?
So have you been following this FTX cryptocurrency scandal?
I love the memes. It's beautiful. I love the comedy behind it, but I know it's far more serious than because it's one thing to laugh at a failure, but it's also important for us to look at the fact that there is a lot of criminal activity that's happening with this FTX.
This should be reported as a Enron / Bernie Madoff / Lehman Brothers Black Swan financial crisis event. But it's not. And it's curious that it's not, because billions of dollars in investment into this cryptocurrency exchange FTX have disappeared. Now, at first, I didn't quite follow what was going on because I'm more invested in just like meme stocks. That's kind of what I've been following. And the only reason I really started to dig into understanding how this story was unfolding was because it might have a peripheral impact on making certain meme stocks finally maybe have to cover. That's not relevant to what I wanted to share here, though. So the Wall Street Journal story reported on this, and this is Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, Sam was the principal in this crypto exchange called FTX that had celebrities from Mr. Wonderful to Tom Brady shilling for it on social media, getting a lot of young investors to invest their money in this crypto exchange. Now, the Wall Street Journal reported, on top of the fact that they're facing financial insolvency and billions have been lost, the embattled cryptocurrency founder spent $40 million to help fund the Democrats in the midterms. Now, what's interesting about this, I will share after I read from some of the Wall Street Journal story. So, even before polls closed, one of the year's biggest Democratic donors had a very bad Tuesday. Sam Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency exchange FTX, valued at $32 billion in January, suffered a sudden liquidity crunch and was taken over by its rival, Binance. Mr. Bankman-Fried, 30, might not fare much better today in politics. This year, he invested about $40 million, mostly on Democratic candidates and causes. That makes him the election cycle's sixth largest donor, according to Open Secrets, a nonpartisan platform tracking money in politics. But the way Mr. Bankman-Fried spent that money, mostly on primaries versus the general election, means he had limited influence on whether Democrats preserve their slim majorities in Congress. Many of his donations flowed through a super PAC called Protect Our Future, which he said was focused on pandemic preparedness. He gave $6 million to the pro-Democratic House Majority PAC back in April. He appears to have stopped writing big checks to Democratic groups in June, Federal Election Commission board records show. Mr. Bankman-Fried might be rethinking his role as a big donor. In May, he boasted he might spend $1 billion helping elect Democrats over the next few election cycles. A few weeks ago, he told Politico that was a dumb thing to say. Now, however, he still spent the $40 million on the midterms. All right, so let me go to my graphic over here. Can you bring up the PDF?
Yeah, hold on. Is that the same one with the image?
Yeah, I've got it in the slide there. Okay. So $1 billion on donations for 2024 U.S. elections.
All right.
He was to spend it, although in this case, he only spent 40. He donated the second largest amount to Joe Biden's campaign. Okay. Now, he donates to the Democratic Party, PACs and candidates, backs Biden. Biden gives U.S. tax money in forms of military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Ukraine turned around and took all the tax money that the U.S. gave them and put it into FTX to grow those seeds money into more money.
Holy
back their weapons, uses FA to partner with FTX. And, there you've got Friedman donating back to the Democratic Party. So, a lot of people have called attention to the fact that given that FTX was unregulated, and now there's also some scandals regarding Gary Gensler, his association with this guy. Gary Gensler was associated with a guy who's the father of this guy Bankman-Fried's girlfriend, who ran a company called Alameda, and FTX loaned money to Alameda secretly from their investors on the exchange, and Alameda lost all that money. This is all money, billions lost speculating. But the bottom line is This guy, Joe, gave money to the Ukraine. Ukraine invested a lot of money in FTX. That's a fact. The owner of FTX was a major donor to Dems in midterms. That's kind of like money laundering. And bringing it back to how I introduced this story, if more rich people, as opposed to regular retail investors or young investors, hadn't been screwed, although I think the reason this is getting some press is because there are a handful of rich people who've gotten screwed over, not to the level of Bernie Madoff levels, right? But some people were speculating the reason this isn't a bigger story is because more rich people haven't been ripped off by this guy as they were by Bernie Madoff. But as it starts to unfold and we see the connections to the Democratic Party, we see how taxpayer money was given to the Ukraine that was supposed to go to fund the war effort. They went and invested in FTX, and FTX's founder is giving more money to the Democratic Party. That's kind of like a money laundering cycle.
So I want to pull up this.
A lot of people on social media have been watching and seeing.
So again, the Gary Gensler, old boss at MIT, is the father of Amanda's CEO, Carolyn Ellison, the GC of FTX official, used to be a lead counselor to Gensler when he was a CFTC chair. Again, SBF FTX mom was Hillary's lawyer and a Democratic operative. SBF was the number 2 Democratic donor. So look, when I say that money in politics is corrupting our democracy, it's the truth. It's the truth of it. Your politicians don't work for you. They work for the person who gives them money.
Well, so Jimmy talked about this also. I watched the segment he did with Craig Pasta Giardulo, and Craig summed it up perfectly. The tentacles of this octopus go to Biden. They go to Gensler. They go to the SEC being absolutely impotent in enforcing any kind of, basically, FTX and its relationship with Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler and the SEC was allowing FTX to kind of form a monopoly in this crypto exchange. And FTX has got the relationships with all of these Democratic principals and operatives.
So obviously, again, Craig Pasta does a lot of good work for the Convo Couch. He's done a lot of great work also on RT. We've seen him on the Jimmy Dore show. He's been a guest on our show too. What part in the video do you want me to play Pasta talking about this?
Well, let me also quickly read from the Moguldom Nation that goes a little bit into the Gary Gensler's relationship, and then we can run. I hadn't actually thought we were going to run that video. I had sent it to you to read. No, we can run something from it, but let me also just touch upon Gary Gensler and how it's interesting how the SEC is only interested in protecting these high rollers who are speculating. This should be all over it is all over all the front pages, but this guy's in the Bahamas right now and he hasn't been arrested yet. The Bahamian authorities, I guess, have taken him into custody and asked him some questions, but he's still on Twitter tweeting. So what this website, moguldom.com, shares is SEC Chair Gary Gensler compromised by SBF and the unholy Alameda FTX alliance, SBF being Sam Bankman-Fried. Crypto exchange FTX is under intense regulatory scrutiny after collapsing this week, and some observers say founder Sam SBF Bankman-Fried may have benefited from relationships linked to U.S. regulators now investigating his companies. After facing a liquidity crunch, FTX, its sister firm Alameda Research, and 130 affiliated companies under the FTX Group banner have filed for bankruptcy, according to a November 11th company statement posted on Twitter. The statement also announced that Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO of FTX, would step down as CEO. Now, billions are missing. Do you remember how they went after Madoff and Enron, and when all the rich people lost their money with Madoff and Enron?
Absolutely, man.
It was like immediately the SEC, immediately the authorities were there to like take people into custody or start pressing charges and investigating. This guy's still running around the Bahamas. And I mean, I know that I think he's operating FTX from the Bahamas, which is also unregulated. And the SEC kind of helped allow them to operate. The Securities and Exchange Commission and Justice Department are investigating FTX. A person familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal, the SEC enforces civil investor protection laws while the Department of Justice prosecutes criminal violations such as fraud. They're not doing that yet. The crypto community has questioned the relationship between SBF and SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Many say they think it's shady, Crypto Slate reported. Gensler has been a professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management since 2018. Some speculate that SBF sought regulation to control the crypto space in a way that would give him a monopoly. Some also speculated that Gensler was influenced by relationships at MIT because his associate at MIT was the father of SBF's girlfriend, who was running the sister company Alameda. Do you see how incestuous all this stuff happens? It's a big club, and we're not in it, and they're going to get away with billions of dollars disappearing that people cannot withdraw from their crypto accounts in this exchange.
When you become a billionaire, when you're part of that billionaire club, the laws of the land do not apply to you. They just don't. And plus, you got to build connections with politicians and so much more. He's not going to serve no jail time.
Well, a quote from this article: "It looks like there is an MIT crypto mafia run by the SEC's Gary Gensler that includes his old boss at MIT, Glenn Ellison, as well as his daughter, Carolyn Ellison, who, by the way, I think is in Hong Kong, and she might be looking to flee to Dubai where there's no extradition." The current CEO of Alameda Research of FTX fame said Bix Weir, a gold enthusiast, critic of current financial policies and creator of the Road to Ruta theory. Carolyn Ellison has not commented publicly on FTX's crisis. U.S. Representative Tom Emmer, Republican of Minnesota, tweeted he'd been receiving reports Gensler had allegedly been helping Sam Bankman-Friedman and FTX before the implosion to work on legal loopholes to obtain a regulatory monopoly. So while Gary Gensler is prosecuting and going after Kim Kardashian because she didn't represent that she was associated with some crypto that she was promoting, he's doing business and basically making it easy for these people to collect billions in investments to their exchange. And apparently nobody's prosecuting anything or investigating it seriously right now.
And again, this is a tweet from Benny Johnson. FTX was a money laundering scam for the Democrats. $50 million spent on electing Democrats this cycle. Will a single Democrat return the blood money given to their campaigns through theft of regular American savings? This should be the biggest scandal in the world right now, and it won't be, Mr. Benny Johnson. And with your coveted blue check mark, and the reason why is because corporate media is controlled by the same people who control the Democrats and Republicans. And again, everyone else is all interconnected. George Carlin was ahead of his time when he said it's one big club and you ain't in it.
Did you ever see the movie The Big Short on the 2008 housing crisis?
Yes, that's a work of art film.
So interestingly enough, the author of the book that inspired that movie had been shadowing Sam Bankman-Friedman. So I'm telling you, in the next couple of years, we're going to be seeing a movie about this whole scandal when all the dominoes fall and we see where all the tentacles were connected to. It's going to be very interesting. And I'm also hyper focused on this story because the collapse that's being caused by this crypto meltdown and these billions disappearing could force a lot of hedge funds that were invested in that exchange to have to cover their positions in other ways that could potentially affect the whole meme stock phenomenon right now.
You know,
we'll see.
What I really like about, again, The Big Short, you just brought that film up. I like the or getting close to the ending where the collapse happened and the narrator says, and what happened? Well, we held those people who led to the collapse accountable. They were arrested. Politicians were held accountable. People started demanding more, and integrity happened. Oh, wait, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
In Wall Street, they were all bailed out. One guy got pulled in. Everything went back to normal. And actually, everything's gotten worse since then because there were no perp walks.
Yep.
But the connections to the Democratic Party here and to the Ukraine and to Gary Gensler and the SEC and MIT, it's just like this is like a crime saga that's going to get adapted into a major motion picture in a few years.
Hold on, Jerry. Hold on. Maybe I'm forgetting things. Maybe I'm getting old. I need to start counting trucks and eating ham, right? But a little inside joke. But real quick, Jerry, who was president in 2008? You know, ran on this thing called Hope and Change. There was a guy who was president and some dude who was VP. And did they promise to do anything about the economic collapse, or did they just, told us we had to move on? I mean, are you talking about
Barack Obama?
Yeah, and who was this
Barack
VP?
Obama? I don't remember him.
And who was this VP? I think it was this guy named Joe.
Dementia Joe Biden.
Yeah, that guy. There we go. Barack Obama. There we go, folks.
And Dementia Joe.
They're not going to help.
Crafted the bankruptcy bill so that students who are saddled with obscene student debt because our government has essentially allowed the banks to run wild with the cost of with the interest on student loans, and our education system to become obscenely expensive in ways that it should never be. It shouldn't have to cost you this much money to get an education in this country. Other countries pay their young people to go to school because they realize those kids are an investment in the future of their countries. Here, we just exploit them and bankrupt them. And with the degrees they get that they, is probably not worth, the toilet paper that they buy, the piece of paper it's printed on, are struggling and can't get the jobs, are forced working minimum wage jobs at less than cost of living expenses.
Yeah. Folks, you don't have a seat at the table. And if you vote Democrat, if you vote Republican, well, you're a sucker who likes to get abused.